Welcome back, students. I'm Dr. Mohammad Azay, and today we are going to start a new topic. Our new topic is specific heat. Normally, when you are going to provide the heat to any body, the temperature of that body will increase. So, how we can define the specific heat? Specific heat is the energy that is required to raise the temperature of a unit mass of a substance by 1 degree. So let's suppose we have two different material. Let's suppose we have a wood and we have any metal, and we are going to provide the same amount of heat as you can see here. So wooden spoon is there and metal spoon is there, but we are providing the same amount of heat. But after some time, the metal spoon will be too hot while the wooden spoon will be warm only, because the metal spoon is required less amount of heat to increase the temperature, while the wooden spoon has more heat to increase the temperature. Like 1 degree, if you are going to change the temperature by 1 degree, so wooden spoon need more heat, while the metal spoon need less heat to increase the temperature by 1 degree. That's why for same amount of heat, the temperature increase in the metal spoon will be higher. Basic formula for the heat is this one. So if you're going to add some heat into the system, so it's simply Q, which is the heat added to the system, is equal to MC mass times the C is specific heat times the delta T, which is change in the temperature. So this is in term of joule or kilojoule. So if I'm going to write in term of specific form, so simply I can divide this Q by this mass and it will become like this one. So when you are going to divide the Q by mass, so I have to change it small q, so it's now specific heat added, and this one is C, which is specific heat times the delta T. So this one is called the specific heat. Normally the specific heat depends on the process that you are going to follow. So the energy that you are going to add to the system will depend on the process. So normally we have two basic types of specific heat. First one is the specific heat at constant volume, which is normally we can represent it by CV. So the specific heat at constant volume is simply the energy required to increase the temperature of the unit mass of a substance by 1 degree as the volume is maintained constant. So in this case, you have to maintain the volume to increase the temperature. While we have another system where we can keep the pressure constant. In that case, we will have the specific heat at constant pressure, or the CP. So we have the CV and we have the CP. In both cases, we have the different process. In the case of constant volume, we have to maintain the constant volume, while for the constant pressure, the pressure will be constant, and the remaining definition will be same, like the energy required to raise the temperature of the unit mass of a substance by 1 degree. This is the same definition for the specific heat. But if you're going to add the wording like as the volume is maintained constant or as the pressure is maintained constant, then you will have to add the specific heat at constant volume and the specific heat at constant pressure. So we have CP and we have CV. Now here, if you can see, we have two different systems. In this system, on the left hand side, we have a system where we have a constant volume. If we have the constant volume, you can see we have a mass of 1 kg, like unit mass. We are going to change the temperature by 1 degree. Same here, we have a mass of 1 kg and we have to change the temperature by 1 degree. But here we have a volume constant, but on the right hand side, we are going to maintain the pressure. So if the pressure is constant here, in both cases we have to add the heat. We are adding some heat here, we are going to add some heat here, and we are going to notice that how much heat is required to change the temperature by 1 degree. So In the case of constant pressure, we have to add more heat. So you can see here we are going to add more heat, because when you are going to add the heat to the system, this piston will go upside. There will be a boundary work. So it means the amount of heat that is going inside the system will increase the temperature, as well as it will perform the boundary work. As you can see here, in the case of constant volume, we don't have any volume, the boundary work, so there will be no boundary work, and the actual amount of heat that is going to coincide to the system will increase the temperature only. So in all cases, the amount of heat required to increase the temperature by 1 degree for the unit mass for the case of constant pressure will be higher than the constant volume. So you can see here the specific heat at constant pressure is always greater than the CV, because there is a work, there is a boundary work. So we have two different forms. We have CP and we have CV. Now let's suppose we have a fixed mass in a stationary closed system undergoing a constant volume process. We have a closed system, so it's been constant volume, and we are going to use a constant volume process. So this is the energy balance. Simply the energy balance is the amount of energy that is going in minus the amount of energy that is going out will be equal to the change in the amount of energy of the system. So if this is the energy balance, so I can write in differential form like this one, because we are saying we have a stationary system, so we don't have any kinetic energy and potential energy of this of the system, so we only have the internal energy, and here we have in and out for the energies. So you can see here we are using the NZ differential and we are using the exact differential for delta U. In and out is only due to heat and work, because we have closed system, so there is no mass, so only in and out is due to heat and work. That's why I'm using the in exact differential, because they are path function, and we have the internal energy which is the point function. That's why I'm using the exact differential here. So by the definition, if you see this one, this is the energy that is going in and going out from the system. So this energy should be equal to this specific heat at constant volume, because the amount of energy required, so this is the amount of energy required that is crossing the boundary. So the amount of energy required to change the temperature is simply this one, CV delta T, because we are saying that this amount of energy, which is either Q or W, is simply CV delta T, as you can see in this slide number 1 here, this one. So we have Q is simply CV delta T. So this is the amount of energy that is going inside to the system, so it will be equal to CV delta T. So this is CV delta T. So I can put this CV delta T here, so I will get like this one. So we have CV delta T equal to du at constant volume, or I can rewrite like this one, is simply CV equal to delta U upon delta T when we are going to keep the volume constant. So this is for volume constant. So this is the CV. Right now I'm using the partial sign, because there is a chance that the CV will depend on any other property as well. So in the next slides, like 2 or 3, after 2 or 3 slides, we will change this notation again. So right now I'm using the partial. This is the partial. This one is the inexact, and this is the partial differential. Partial differential is basically when we can say that this property is dependent on more other properties as well. So right now I'm saying that this property is dependent on T, and there is a chance that it will depend on any other property as well. So right now I'm using the partial differential, and then I will change it. So this CV is simply du by dt at constant volume. Similarly, if I'm going to write the equation for Cp, so it will be like Cp equal to the partial differential of H divided by the partial differential of T at constant pressure. You will get, you can solve this one by yourself. You will get the same answer. In the last energy balance, as you can see here, we have like this one, and this is du. But when we have the constant pressure, then you will get a boundary work here, and you can simply shift the boundary work from here to here, and then you can combine the du plus pdv, and it will become dh. You can see here we have dh, and then you can rewrite the equation like this one. So we have two equations. We have one equation for Cp, and we have the second equation for Cv. So for Cv is simply the change in the internal energy with temperature at constant volume, and Cp is simply the change in the enthalpy with temperature at constant pressure. At constant pressure and change in the enthalpy, and we have here we have the change in the internal energy with temperature at constant volume. So please be careful. For Cv we have the change in the internal energy, and for the Cp we have change in the enthalpy. Now after that, we have to check the internal energy, the enthalpy or the specific heats for ideal gases as well as for liquid and solids. So first we are going to establish the relationship for ideal gas, and then we will do it for solid or liquid as well. Normally when we are talking about the ideal gas, so for ideal gas we can write the equation like this one. We can write like P is equal to MIT, or by dividing V by M, so it will be specific one. So it's P specific volume equal to RT. So we have the equation PV is equal to RT, where R is the gas constant, T is the temperature, and Kelvin we have specific volume here, and P is the pressure. Now experimentally it is proved that the internal energy is the function of temperature only. There was some experiment conducted by the Joule. It is proved that the internal energy of the gases, of the ideal gases, is the function of temperature only. Means that you can simply write the internal energy of the gas of an ideal gas is the function of temperature only. So we don't have any other parameter. So the internal energy is only dependent on the temperature. So remember this thing. Now we have equation PV is equal to RT, and we know that for enthalpy we have PV plus U equal to H. So this is the definition of enthalpy. The enthalpy is equal to the internal energy plus PV, as we have already discussed in the start of this chapter when we were solving some boundary work. So we have H equal to U plus PV. But for an ideal gas, we have equation PV equal to RT. So PV is equal to RT. So I can simply replace this PV, this one, by RT. So I can write the H is equal to U plus RT. I've just replaced this PV by RT. So I have U plus RT. So H, the enthalpy, is equal to the internal energy plus RT. R is a constant term, which is gas constant. We have temperature here. So this one is constant, and this one, the internal energy, is basically dependent on temperature only. So if this is so if R is constant and T is the temperature and U is only the function of temperature, so I can write that the H, the enthalpy, is also the function of temperature only, because this one is dependent on temperature, this is a constant value, and this is temperature. So overall H is dependent on temperature. So H is also the function of temperature only for an ideal gas. So for an ideal gas, U is the function of temperature and H is the function of temperature only. So if these are the function of temperature only, that's why I can say that, sorry, where it is like this one. So I can simply write down this is du. Now I'm going to change by dt and du, and I'm not using the partial sign as I already discussed in previous slides. So I'm not going to use the partial sign, rather I am using the exact differential because they are the function of temperature only. So if there is a function of temperature only, so there is no need to put the partial differential here. So these all are written stuff is already discussed. So I can, sorry. So this is simply like this one. They use CVT is dt or dH is equal to CPT dt because they are function of temperature only. Now here if you can see we have du which is Cv delta T. So if you have to check or if you have to find the delta U or the change in the internal energy between two states, state 1 and state 2, as well as if you have to find the delta H or change in the enthalpy between two states, then what we have to do, we have to simply integrate. So simply when you have to find the delta H or so delta U, so it will be like this one. So we have the delta U. So if I'm going to integrate it, so it will be Cv as a function of t times delta t between two states between 1 and 2. It will be delta U as well as delta H will be like this one. We have delta H or H2 minus H1 between these two states and simply Cp as a function of t delta t. So it's been when we are going to integrate this function, so we have to find the relationship of the Cv with respect to temperature and Cp with respect to temperature. So we should know the relations for Cp and Cv as a function of temperature to integrate these values. Now, how we can find the delta U and delta H if we don't have the exact relation as a function of temperature? So normally we have three different ways to determine the internal energy and the enthalpy changes of the ideal gases. We have three different ways. With the first one, we can use the tabulated U and H data. This is easiest and most accurate way when tables are readily available. So we have a table, I think it's A17 in the book. So we can use that table, and against the temperature we can find the value of U and H. The second one is by using the Cv or Cp relations as a function of temperature and performing the integration. So this one is a slightly lengthy process, but you will get the accurate value from this way as well. And the last one is by using the specific heat, sorry, the average specific heat. This is very simple and certainly very convenient when profit tables are not available. So the results obtained are reasonably accurate if the temperature interval is not very large, and we normally use the third one approach. We normally use the average specific heats, and we will use it in our course. We can find the CP or CV or even U and H by using uh, the first step, with the first method and second method as well. So we have we have a question here, and we will try to find the values of CP and CV by using all these three methods. So we have three different methods, and you have to remember that we can find the delta U or delta H by using the table. So this is the summary that we can use the table, or we can use the integration method, or we can use the average value to find out the delta U, and then we can find the delta H as well. So it's up to you, but this one, the third one, we are going to follow. So third method we will use in our course here. If you want, you can use these two as well. Now, before going to solve the problem, there is one more thing that we can find a specific heat relation for ideal gas as well. As we know, we have Cp and Cv for ideal gas only, and H equal to U plus RT. So if I'm going to use a differential form, so I can write that dH equal to du plus R. R is basically constant, so we can't put a d here, just R dt. So in the differential form, I can write the equation like this one. So we have the differential of H or dH equal to du plus R dt. Now by the definition, we have Cp and Cv, and Cp is simply Cp T is dH. So what is dH? dH is simply Cp delta T. And what is du? du is Cv delta T. So I'm just going to replace this one, this dH, by Cp delta T, and this du by Cv delta T. Then we have plus R dt. So here we have dt here, we have dt here, and dt here. So I can simply cancel out the delta T, and then I will get this one. So I will get Cp equal to Cv plus R. So we have Cp, which is the constant, the specific heat at constant pressure. We have Cv, specific heat at constant volume, and then we have R, which is the gas constant for that particular gas. So simple dH is Cp delta T, du is Cv delta T, and then dividing by delta T on both sides, you will get Cp equal to Cv plus R. Or we can write the Cp minus Cv equal to R. Here we have to understand one more term, which is called the specific heat ratio. So what is specific heat ratio? Is simply it's a ratio of the Cp and Cv. Normally we represent it by K. So simply the ratio of Cp and Cv. So here we have a problem. We have air at 300 Kelvin and 200 Pascal. Now this air is heated at constant pressure to 600 Kelvin. So basically temperature is changed from 300 Kelvin to 600 Kelvin. The question is, we have to determine the change in the entire energy of air per unit mass. Means you have to find the entire energy, which is U, delta U, of air per unit mass, so specific entire energy. So we have three different methods. You have to use all three methods. So first one is the data from the air table. We have the table A17. Then as a function of temperature, then we have to integrate it. And the third one is the average specific heat value. So we have different tables and we have to use all these tables. So first one is the table A17. So first one is data from the air table. It's the easy way. So this is the way. So we have T1, which is 300 Kelvin. We have T2, which is 600 degree Kelvin. 600 Kelvin only. Or we can use the degree sign for Kelvin. So we have 300 and 600. So from table A17, so table A17 is simply the ideal gas property of the air. So here in this table we have the temperature in Kelvin, and against this temperature we have a value of H. We have PR, U, VR, and S naught. So this PR and VR, you have already know that these are the reduced pressure and the reduced volume that we use in chapter 3. So our first temperature is 300 Kelvin. So we have a 300 Kelvin here. So against the 300 Kelvin, we need to find the value of U, and the value of U is simply 214.04 kJ per kg. So this is the U value at 300 Kelvin. Similarly, if we are going to check the value at 600 Kelvin, so here we have the remaining part of this table. So we have 600 Kelvin here. So delta U value or the U2 is simply 434.78 kJ per kg. So normally what we have to do, we have to find the delta U, and delta U is simply U2 minus U1. So this is U2 minus U1. So we have 434.78 minus 214.07, and you will get 220.71 kilojoule per kilogram. So this one is the first method to find the entire energy by using the table. The second one is to use the temperature relationship. So for the temperature relation, we have a table which is table A2C, and this is for only Cp. And if you can see here, it's not the simple Cp, we have a bar on it. So it's basically in molar form. It's not in mass form, it's basically in molar form. So from the table A2C, you can find a relationship like this one. So this is the table A2 and C. So ideal gas specific heat for various common gases as a function of temperature, and this is the relationship for all the gases, and this is only for this specific heat at constant pressure in terms of molar. So you can see here we have mole here. So you will get the Cp in kilojoule per kilo mole times the Kelvin. So we have a relationship. The relationship is A plus BT plus CT square plus DT cube, and the value of A, B, C, and D are given here for different gases. So for nitrogen we have different A, B, C, D, and we have oxygen we have different. For air we have different one. So normally, because we are going to use the air, so for CP we have the value of A, which is 28.11, B is this one, C is this one, and D is this one. So we have different values, and these are all for the CP bar. So we have CP, and we have to find the entire energy. So we can change the value of CP in terms of CV. As we know that CP minus CV equal to R. This is when we going to write the equation in terms of mass. So if I'm going to use the equation in terms of mole, so it will be Cp bar minus Cv bar equal to Ru, because then we have to use the universal gas constant, and then if I'm going to rewrite the equation, so I can write like this one. So we have Cp, so Cp minus Ru is simply Cv, because Cp minus Cv is R. So by rearranging, I'll write down Cv the bar equal to Cp bar means in molar form minus Ru. So this is gas constant, universal gas constant. So we have the relationship here in this page. So you can see we have A plus Bt plus Ct square plus Dt cube. So I'm just going to put this Cp value here. Here. Now we have A plus Bt, and then if I'm going to combine this one, so it will be A plus bt plus ct square plus dt cube plus ru, sorry, minus ru. So this I'm going to combine the a and ru here, so it's simply a minus ru. So we have a minus ru plus bt plus ct square plus dt cube, because a is constant and ru is constant. B is constant, but we have t here, we have c t square plus dt cube. So now this is bar, so it's mean when I'm going to integrate this whole equation, I will get u bar rather than u. Therefore, this is changing the U, or changing the entire energy in terms of molar form. So it's simply between 1 and 2. So we have CVT dt in terms of bar. So I'm just putting the value of CVT, which is like this one. So just putting the equation here. So when I'm going to integrate this one, so it will be 1 minus Ru times T plus Bt square upon 2 plus Ct cube upon 3 plus Dt 4 upon 4, and then we have to put the limit from T1 to T2, which is 300 Kelvin to 600 Kelvin, and then we have to solve it. So by solving and doing all the necessary action, we will get the delta U bar is simply 6447 kilojoule per kilomole. Now this is 6447 kilojoule per kilomole, and we need in terms of kilo mass. So how we can shift the values from kilomole to kilo mass? Whenever we have a value in terms of mole, and we have to find the value in terms of like kg, then what we do? Then we use the molar mass value. So if you remember, the mole is simply mass upon molecular mass. So if I'm going to multiply with the molecular mass, so you can easily get the values in terms of mass basis. So the change in the internal energy on a unit mass basis is determined by dividing this value by the molar mass of the air. So simply we have from the table A1, we have a molar mass which is simply 28.97 kilojoule per kilomole. This is for air. So you can check from table A1. So we have a value which is entire energy per mole. So if I'm going to divide this one by molecular mass, so it will be 222.5. This kilomole will cancel out this with this kilomole, and you will get only kilojoule per kilogram. So we have kilojoule per kilogram, and the value is 222.5. So this is the entire energy in terms of kg. So this answer, this one is basically there's a difference of 0.8% from the tabulated value. So this is 0.8%. So it's not very much different from the tabulated value. So either we can use the table one, or we can integrate the equation. But this integration is time taking step or method. So normally we use the first one or third one. So how we can solve by using the third method? For the third method, we have to use the average specific heats. For the average specific heats, we have a table A to B. A to B. So normally, if we have to use the specific heat and the average value, so we have the table A to B, and for finding the values, so you can see here we have temperature range here, we have CP value here, we have CV value, and we have K values. K simply CP upon CV ratio. So right now we have 300 Kelvin and we have the 600 Kelvin. So if I'm going to add, so we will have a 300 plus 600, so we will get the 900 divided by 2, so you will get 450 Kelvin. So we have to use the average value. So we are getting the average temperature, which is 450 Kelvin. So here, so you can see we have a 450 here, 450 Kelvin, and we have to check the CV value. So it's simply 0.733. This is CV, and we have to use the we have to find the change in the internal energy. So how we can find the change in the internal energy? The formula is simple. We have the change in the internal energy is simply CV delta T. So I'm using the average value. So simply delta U is CV average value and T2 minus T1. So we have 600, we have 300, and we have the value of CV, which is 0.733 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. So simply you have to put the values and then you will get the answer, which is 220 kilojoule per kilogram. So this is the delta U. So this is if you can compare with the tabulated value. So the difference is only 0.4%. 0.4%. So these are like almost you are getting the same answers in all three cases. So it's up to you that which method you are going to use, but it's recommended to use the third one, which is like this one. So normally we use the average values of the constant volume, specific heat at the average temperature. So it's easiest way to find the internal energy change. If you know what is the internal energy change, then you can find the delta H as well, because we have the different relationship between the H and U, so we can find out the H as well. Now this is all about the ideal gases. So how we can find the internal energy, how we can find the specific heat, and the enthalpy as well for the ideal gas. The next one is the internal energy, the enthalpy, and the specific heat for solid and liquid. When we talk about the solid and liquid, so remember that the constant volume and the constant pressure specific heat Cp and Cv are identical for incompressible substance. Are identical for incompressible substance, and for the liquids and the solids we normally say that these are the incompressible substance. So there is no need to show show the specific heat in terms of volume or in terms of pressure. Rather than we can simply say it's C. So because they are identical, so we can write down that Cp equal to Cv equal to C. So we can easily say that these that we have the same specific heat. So at the constant pressure and the constant volume, we will get the same specific heat value. So we can conclude that the specific heat for an ideal gas is simply we have two different notation. We have the specific heat at constant pressure. We have specific heat at constant volume. The specific heat at constant pressure is always higher than the specific heat at constant volume for an ideal gas. And the difference between the specific heat at constant pressure and the specific heat at constant volume is simply equal to the gas constant. And then we can use three different ways to find out the internal energy or the enthalpies. And for gases, and for solid and liquids, due to the incompressible property, there is no meaning of the specific heat at constant pressure and the specific heat at constant volume and the specific heat at constant pressure. So what we can do, we can simply say that we have the only specific heat, so it will be equal to Cp and Cv. So instead of writing Cp and Cv for solid and liquid, we can write down the C only. So we have only C for solid and liquids. So that's all for today class. So this is the end of chapter 4, and in the next class we will try to solve some numerical problems for this chapter as well. In any case, if you have any query, you can contact me by email. Thank you.